Hi everyone, welcome to the 4 Steps to LinkedIn Success webcast series. My name is Mike Langford. I am the Senior Social Business Strategist here at Socialware. Today we're going to be presenting Step 1, how to optimize your profile. During today's series and for other episodes in this series, I'll be joined by Jennifer Grisel of LinkedIn. She is the Head of Category Development for the Financial Services vertical. I'm also going to be joined by Jason Seiden of Ajax Social Media. He's the co-founder of the firm. Ajax is a social media training company. They work with teams and one-on-one and team-based basis to show them how to use tools and be effective and efficient. And we here at Socialware, we provide social media software to help financial professionals be compliant and maximize their business value from the tools. We're going to be presenting for about 30 minutes today. If you have questions during the presentation, feel free to enter them into the Q&A, the questions box there at the top of your screen. You'll see a questions box. Feel free to click that, enter your questions along the way, and we will be fielding those at the end of this session. Okay. So just to kick off, this probably is not news to this audience. But LinkedIn is the undisputed leader in online networking for professionals. With over 135 million users worldwide, it is getting harder to find a professional who is not using LinkedIn. LinkedIn users are also very active. They are attractive as well, by the way. 88 million people use the site at least monthly, generating 10.5 billion page views, and conducting over 1 billion searches. It's billion with a B. In today's session on profile optimization, we're going to make sure that when these people are doing their searches, that you show up where you're supposed to. Right? That's the whole point of this session, optimizing your profile. Over the course of this webinar series, we're going to be using a framework titled the Social Business Activity Cycle. This is really designed to give you a process for you that is efficient and effective on a daily basis. So it may look a little scary there, this big 5-step process, but I assure you, once you adopt it into your daily life, your business life, it'll be something you can run through in a couple of minutes. And it's a great framework to use. It's a very similar approach to the one you may be familiar with when you're going to a Chamber of Commerce event or any other type of networking event. That you're going to connect with people, you're going to listen to some conversations, you're going to enter some conversations, respond and amplify, you'll be sharing some things about yourself, and of course you're looking to grow your network as well. Over the course of this webinar series, we're going to be using a hashtag, so if you are on Twitter and tweeting this out, or if you're posting updates to your LinkedIn network, please do use the hashtag #LinkedInSuccess. So that's the hashtag for this series. So feel free to use that liberally everywhere on the social web. Okay, so let's dive into your profile. Your profile is your unique identity. Even if you have a relatively common name, the first thing of importance is that people are, when they're searching for you, are going to find the you you're looking for. You know, you think back to the Star Wars episode where, these are not the droids you're looking for. Well, we want you to be the droid they're looking for. When we do a search for Mike Langford here on LinkedIn, we see that there's 204 other Mike Langfords on LinkedIn. So how do I know that I found the Mike Langford I'm looking for? Well, it helps to do a few things. Number one, I make sure that I use the name that I go by. So I go by Mike, not Michael, so there's that. That helps a little bit. I make sure that I have a headshot that looks like me, that if you've ever met me in my life, that this is what I look like. Even though I have considerably less hair now, and if you had met me 10 or 15 years ago, you'd probably recognize that it still looks like me. And the other thing you want to add in there, just in the basics, is your location. Right? I'm in Austin, Texas. I used to be in Boston, right? So we want to make sure that we have some location in there. So those are the basics. But beyond the basics, we want to make sure that our profile is built for networking. This is a social network, true, like other social networks, but this is a professional network, more importantly. And people are actively looking for people to connect with. They're looking for you. They're looking for people who do what you do, and you are looking to connect with other people who are relevant and desirable to you and your business. And there are a few things on your profile that can be built to make sure that you are discovered. So your profile is not just a resume or a business card. It's a living, breathing networking tool. What you put on your profile will help you find highly relevant connections as well as enable them to find you. The thing we want to make sure we do is we want to make sure we cover as many touch points as possible to ensure your profile is ready for prime time. So think about the two big areas, big categories of your life that people are going to use to find you professionally. Think about how people know you. They know you through where you used to work, so colleagues of the places you used to work, or the things you used to do, right? Even if they didn't work with you, that's how they know you, or they went to school with you. These are the two big categories, and these are the most important elements. After that, your name, your headshot, and where you live. Let's make sure we fill out what you do and where you did it and where you went to school, because those are the main touch points that people will use to discover you on LinkedIn. It's also the main touch point that you are going to use to find other members of your network. Now, Jason Seiden from Ajax is going to take you through some detailed approaches, some really in-depth approaches to help you optimize your profile. But before I hand it over to Jason, I want to touch on a few key things that you should be mindful of with your as it relates to your profile and compliance, because this is a financial audience after all. So let's think about compliance. Your profile is considered static content. And most of compliance teams, if there's any listening in on this webinar, will tell you that they expect to be able to read and approve your profile, that your profile should be considered just like your website or a brochure, right? That it should go through compliance. It's subject to advertising rules. In fact, the state of Massachusetts recently came out with a ruling saying that, yeah, social media is advertising and should be considered as such. So all the rules as it relates to advertising for your profession, financial advisor, agents, you name it, should be observed. The high-level rules are make sure it's true. Make sure you're not inflating or omitting material facts about yourself or the things you do. You should not have testimonials. So then in the context of LinkedIn, that means no recommendations on your profile should be visible to other viewers. So if you already have some on there, you're likely going to want to hide them. I've yet to see a way to actually remove them, but you can hide them so they're not visible from the public, okay? But testimonials are generally prohibited by the regulators. Your content is supposed to be documented and retained. So that means that you have to have a chronological record of all the things you update on your profile, and you have to keep them. So in the event that you make a profile change, you should actually have a copy somewhere of the changes you made. In the event that you were to have an audit and the regulators want to look through things, they have the ability to look through it. In the end, run it through compliance. Your compliance team is not there to be a buzzkill. They're looking to make sure that you avoid unnecessary risk, that you're on the up and up, and that you can conduct business safely and bring in new business. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jason, and he's going to take you through, as I mentioned, some tips and tricks for you to optimize your profile for networking. Jason?
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate that. And before we move forward, I wanted to spend just a moment longer on this compliance slide. I spent time with about 130 different financial advisors over the past few days at a conference, and one of the questions that I heard repeatedly was, how can I possibly use LinkedIn given all the compliance restrictions that we're working within? And I want to assure you that even within the confines of the regulatory environment in which financial advisors and wealth managers work, there's no shortage of ways in which you can use your profile to help you build a network that not only puts you out there, but ultimately helps you drive your business forward as effectively and as efficiently as possible. And that's what I want to focus on in the next few minutes. So thinking back for a minute to the life cycle that Mike shared, the social media life cycle, there's really three ways in which LinkedIn can support you as you move through that life cycle. The first is LinkedIn is a great forum for you to establish credibility in the market. It's basically, rather than look at it as your resume, to think of it as a marketing pitch. In fact, think of it as your elevator pitch that's out there for the world to see 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right? The world is shifting. It's no longer the case that you need to shake somebody's hand before you find anything out about them. In fact, not only is that not the case, we are actively and quickly moving to a world where we are researching one another before deciding to even opt into a business relationship. So the same way that we're learning to buy our big screen TVs by doing our research online and then deciding which store we're going to go to, if we go to a store at all, we're learning to do the same thing with other people. So having a forum where you can exist and be credible online is critical because it gives other people a chance to figure out who you are and what you're about so that they can decide to pursue a relationship with you. Now, in addition to establishing credibility, LinkedIn obviously can also help you connect with people. Mike talked about two main areas of your life in which your connections are going to come from. What he didn't mention, being from Boston, and I understand why, is that people can also use that information to razz you about your team's performance in the Super Bowl. But we'll let that go, Mike. And finally, LinkedIn can also help you convert online connections into real-world relationships. And I want to be very clear about this. This is something that folks overlook. I think a lot of people, when they look at LinkedIn, they look at social media in general, they want to establish the relationship, develop the relationship, and close the relationship all in one platform. And business doesn't work like that. Relationships don't work like that. Make sure that you remind yourself it's okay to move between platforms. It's okay to move between online and offline when developing a relationship. So the same way that LinkedIn can help you establish credibility, it also provides you information about other people which you can use to decide if and how you want to pursue a relationship with them. Now, we've got a few minutes here. We're going to focus on credibility. This is critical. It's not just what you say, it's also how you say it. Now, I wish I could say that I completely made this up. The content is made up. It's actually reflective of me, but the format is based on an archetype of a LinkedIn profile that I have seen with frequency over the past 2.5 years that I've been doing this kind of work. And in the time it's taken me to speak, you've already spent more time looking at this slide than most people look at the summary on an actual LinkedIn profile. And the magic question here is, would you call this person back? Now, of the few thousand people that I've showed this to over the past few years, there have been a handful of hardy souls who, out of a sense of morbid curiosity, say, yeah, I'd like to call somebody back who finds a way to use the word chimp in the middle of their summary, or who, as a strength, can say that they're awesome communicators who get right to the point, even after this huge block of text. But the point here is most people would opt out of this without even reading a word. The way in which this summary is constructed scares people off. It turns out it's not just the content of what you say. It's also the context, the way in which you say it, the way you package yourself on the market. We do judge books by their covers. So we need to think about who the people are that we're trying to connect with, the impression we want to make on them, the message we want to deliver, and we need to craft a profile that conveys that message both through the content we choose to share as well as the way in which we choose to share it. LinkedIn gives us a vast array of levers to pull to accomplish this goal. Thankfully, not all content is created equal. It turns out that visitors to your profile will spend a disproportionate amount of time on a few of these content levers. So given the fact that we have just a few minutes here to talk about this today, I'm going to dial in to a few of those content levers that are of particular importance, starting with the information that's right at the top of your profile, the first thing people see. Mike already talked about your name, and he's absolutely right. The name you go by, the name that you want people to call you, that's the name that we recommend that you use. Your given name may be beautiful, but if you make it difficult for people to know what to call you when they reach for the phone, there's still a lot of introverts in the world, and they don't want to be corrected right out of the gate. They don't want to pick up the phone and say, "Hi, it's Michael there," only to have Mike say, "Oh, you can call me Mike." A lot of us don't care, but some of us care a great deal about that. So make sure your name matches. Likewise, a couple other things I want to highlight. Your industry is not your job. Your industry is financial services. Your job could be in marketing. It could be in, you could be a CPA. You could be in operations. You could be a compliance. That's your job. But your industry is just that. It is your industry. It's what your company does. So make sure that matches. Your headline, where this says workforce marketing strategist, and I play with mine. If anybody here is alt-tabbing over to a live view of LinkedIn, you'll find that it's actually different on my actual profile now. But I recommend that you use information that is both informative and compelling. Sometimes you're lucky enough to have a job title that is both informative and compelling. Great, use it. Others of us have job titles that are fairly common, where it's you and maybe 1.8 million more people on LinkedIn with the same job title. Some of us have job titles that don't mean anything. They might be fascinating and interesting, but they don't tell a visitor what you do. Keep in mind, this information is what people see when you show up in search results. It's what they see when they hover over your name in their inbox when you've sent them a message. So the very first decision people make about opting into a relationship with you is made on this information. We want to provide them a headline that's not cute, that's not esoteric, it's not vague. It tells them exactly what you do and why you're the right person for them. And you might not get it in a day. It may actually take you a few months or even a few years to come up with the perfect headline, but do spend time thinking about it. And then finally, in this top box is your photo. And I'm guessing while I've been talking, you've read the text that's there. So let's do a little bit of a deeper dive here on photos. Picture is worth 1,000 words. It's worth having a photo that works. Now, these 6 photos all made an appearance on my profile sometime in the last 2 years before I went with the one I'm currently using. I ran a series of experiments to see which photo would help me drive business more effectively, if at all. And I actually found incredibly different response rates to my profile as I would swap out the photo. And by the way, one question I get a lot is, should I change my photo? And my recommendation to people is really no. Change it until you find one that works, and then stick with that one as long as you can. Because remember, when people see your name come up in their activity feed, when they're looking for you, we're visual processors, right? Our brains actually love information that comes through our eyes more than anything else. So when I see a picture of you and then your name and text next to the picture, it's the picture of you that I associate with you. So if you go with one photo and you keep with it, I get to associate that photo with you. And now at a glance, when I look at my activity feed, at a glance, I know that this particular activity update is about you. When you're changing your photo, I lose that context clue, and I constantly have to reset that context clue. And it's difficult for me to do that, right? You're one person, but I may have 300, 800, 1,200 people in my network. So you change your photo. I don't assume you change your photo. I just assume it's in the corner of my eye, I recognize it as something I don't recognize, and I assume it's one of the other 1,199 people in my network who's not you. So once you find one that works, go with it. In terms of what works, when I've asked my audiences which one of these photos they think worked best for my profile, most people guessed the headshot. And they're surprised to learn that headshot was outperformed by both the photos above and below it. The photo below it, me and my glasses on a couch, my inbox blew up. Everybody wanted to connect with this person. Nobody wanted to do business with him. Free advice, but no business. That guy didn't charge enough for his time. The photo at the top made an appearance when I was actively looking for speaking engagements, and it worked great. Meeting planners started calling me in greater numbers than they ever had before. That was my target audience. And while it may not mean anything to the folks on this call now, to a meeting planner, they look at this and they go, oh, he's speaking. They can recognize that background is a stage background. So in addition to being a decent photo of me, there's also social proof here. Those meeting planners know that somebody else paid to actually have me on a stage. So think about context as well as the content of the photo. Now, one other area that I want to touch on very quickly before turning it over to Jennifer is your summary. Your summary is probably the most underutilized area on the LinkedIn profile as far as I can tell. Most people, if they don't have this big block of text, they'll have something that they pulled straight from a job description or a resume. I'm an innovative problem solver with a passion for results and a strong team orientation. And we all roll our eyes at that. What I advise people to do is write a very short and brief summary that has the following points. Number one, tell me what you do. I'm not on your profile because I was looking for your autobiography on Amazon and couldn't find it. I'm here because I have a problem and I want to know if you can help me solve it. So right off the bat, tell me what problems you solve. Secondly, show me how you're better. And do this without adjectives. Tell me how you're better by telling me what your company focuses on. That is how you differentiate yourself. It also has the added benefit of now making you bigger than just yourself. You don't have to compete in the world as a single shingle. You get to compete on the back of your company's brand. And third, this is optional, share something personal about yourself. Break the professional veneer and share some information that's a little more personal. What we have found is the way in which people use social media, they expect to be able to build a relationship with this person. They don't want to see the corporate marketing puff piece. They want to see something real. And finally, under specialties, think keywords. Imagine that you met somebody last night. They can't remember your name, but they remember what you do, and they want to follow up with you. They're going to go online. They're going to do a search for you using what words? Whatever words they're going to be searching for, those are the words that you want to think about having under specialties. Now, LinkedIn provides a number of other levers that you can use to continue your story, but that's really the heart and soul of crafting a great profile. The rest of this will really fall from having the header information, your photo, and your summary done right. Now, I've spent some time talking about tactics, and now I want to turn it over to Jennifer Grazel, really to pull it up and provide a little bit more of a macro picture. Jennifer.
Thank you, Jason. So I actually had the pleasure of joining Jason last week, working with a number of independent registered advisors, and it was amazing the response that we received. As mentioned in the beginning, LinkedIn has over 135 million members. We actually experienced 40% growth year over year, and 50% of those members are located in the U.S. The financial advisor segment is one of our fastest growing segments, and we really believe that this growth is tied to our mission statement, which is to connect the world's professionals and make them more successful in their everyday lives. Core ways that professionals are using our platform are, one, managing their professional identity. So Mike and Jason spent quite a bit of time discussing that. Connecting and building business relationships. And lastly, collaborating and gaining professional insights. So going back to the financial advisor segment, here's a visual representation of what financial advisors are doing on our platform. And as you can see in terms of the size of the bubble, profile viewing and people search are two key top activities, which is really tied to building relationships. And once again, in thinking about how advisors and just overall members of our site are using our platform, profile viewing is the #1 activity. So we're continuing to hear that social media is becoming a core tenet of advisors' business practices. And, if you look at the chart on the right-hand side, you could see varying adoption rates by, with RIAs leading and, bank brokerage firms trailing the pack. And one of the key things that we're seeing, and also registered rep in this study that they performed, we're seeing is that 35% of advisors are leveraging social media to network with professionals. So once again, tying back to their profile. 24% are keeping up to date on industry news, so really using LinkedIn as a source of insights. 20% are basically building a prospecting base, and 19% are researching new and current clients. It's a great tool in terms of preparing to go in to, let's say, a current client or a prospective client, in really gathering insights and honing in on what matters to them. Roger Coleman, he is the #1 Wirehouse producer, and if you take a look at his profile, he has a very robust profile. So more and more, our adoption rates are increasing tremendously. We're seeing double-digit growth. So as Jason mentioned, in terms of going in depth in terms of your profile, what's really important is really identifying what your niche is and building your brand around that niche. And in taking time to build out your profile, it's important that you think of keywords. What are keywords that are going to resonate with my audience that really speaks to my niche? Mark here, he is an expert in financial services marketing, and he provides consulting advice to banks in helping them adopt social media. So integrated into his profile are those areas of specialty. He also links his Twitter handle along with his personal blog. So let's tie this back to a financial advisor. I have had the opportunity to work with Kathy Curtis, and if you look at her profile, what's really interesting about Kathy, just taking a step back, is that she's been a trailblazer in social media. She's an independent financial advisor, and she's been leveraging social media since 2009. Kathy, in her profile, the first thing that you see is a woman-centric financial planner. She's identified her niche. It's right within her profile, and she's actually a great person in terms of modeling or benchmark, because she spent a lot of time building out her profile, identifying her areas of specialties, and integrating her blog, her Twitter handle, and her areas of interest into her profile. What's interesting about Kathy and why we're using her as an example is that currently she's leveraging LinkedIn as a way to distribute thought leadership. And she actually told us an interesting case that recently occurred with her, in that a woman in her 30s was looking for an independent financial planner, and she basically searched LinkedIn, leveraging our search tools to identify, well, who within her network might have a financial advisor in their first degree of connections, their immediate network. And what this individual actually reached out to her via LinkedIn, leveraging our InMail functionality, and requested a meeting. And so when she sat down and spoke to this individual in person, the first thing she asked is, well, how did you find me? And so how and why did you select me? And it was really about, the individual answered, well, it's really about relevancy. I looked at your profile. I was interested in the material that you were reading, the books. There's a section in your profile where you can identify books that you're reading currently. I was very interested in your community activity, and obviously that you were a woman-centric financial advisor. And so as a result of spending time and investing in her profile, a number of different prospective candidates have found her and followed up on LinkedIn. So just one case